A legal shocker in a case that grabbed national headlines. Alex Murdaugh, the South Carolina man serving 2 consecutive life sentences for killing his wife and his son, will now get a brand new trial. To discuss, let's bring in senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano and also David Gelman. He's a former prosecutor and now a criminal defense attorney at Gelman Law. This case captivated the nation, and now the South Carolina court, gentlemen, says it has no choice but to grant Murdaugh a new trial due to the external influences on the jury. Murdaugh will remain behind bars. This seems like an unprecedented move. I'm going to give you the first stab at this, Judge Knapp. Is this the right call?
It's absolutely the right call, and it should have been made by the trial judge who denied this application. The Supreme Court of South Carolina ruled unanimously that when the court clerk, the human being responsible for accommodating the jurors, moving them from the jury bus to the jury room, getting their lunch, getting them back on the bus at the end of the day, taking care of their personal needs, was saying things to them like, "Don't believe Murdaugh when he gets on the witness stand because he's probably going to lie to you." That type of interference with the judicial process, quite frankly, I've never heard of. She pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice. She was only sentenced to 1 year probation. She should have been sentenced to 10 years in jail. But that type of interference, even in a case where the evidence of guilt is overwhelming, was enough to invalidate the guilty verdict and to tell the jury, the prosecutors, it's up to you whether you want to retry him. Why is it up to them? He's serving 40 years in prison for unrelated crimes, and he's in his 60s.
So that's a judge's perspective, and a great one there. David, you have been you are a defense attorney, but you've also been a prosecutor. Where do you fall on this? Because this is obviously something that the prosecution is didn't want to happen, but now it is. All their work and a new trial.
Bianca, look, if I was a prosecutor, obviously I'd be very upset, but they had to have known this was going to happen. I 100% agree with my friend Judge Knapp. This was the correct call, and the trial judge did this incorrectly. They should have dismissed this. They should have had to be a mistrial from the very beginning. I know Judge Knapp would, and I know a lot of other judges who I appear in front of would do the same thing. When you have that type of interference by a county clerk advising jurors of what to do and how to look at the defendant, that is so wrong. I mean, that is grounds for appeal and acquittal all day long, twice on Sunday. So the prosecutors, I can guarantee you, they probably weren't that surprised that they're going to have to do this again. Is it going to cost a lot of money in taxpayers? Yes, it is. Are they going to get the same result? Probably, because the evidence was overwhelming. But at the end of the day, in this country, you have to have a fair trial, and he did not have a fair trial when it came to this.
All right, so let's go to the next legal topic here. This is after 2 years of investigating, prosecutors announced criminal charges. We all remember the story, the deadly bridge collapse in Baltimore. Now the ship's operators and an employee have been charged with conspiracy, obstruction, and misconduct. The prosecutors allege that the company relied on an improper fuel pump, lied about it. Serious charge there. The ship's operators say the NTSB ruled the cause was outside their control due to a loose wire in the electrical system. So now the ship's operator saying, well, the NTSB made their ruling, but that obviously doesn't square with the justice system. Judge, walk us through this case.
It's unusual for the government to prosecute a corporation. Obviously, no human being can go to jail when the defendant is not human. So the government is obviously looking for money here. There's a federal statute that allows the government to look for twice whatever the government paid in order to remediate the damage. You see the bridge going down there. Not an easy case for the government to prove. If I were the prosecutor, I would have sued in civil court where the standard is lower and it's easier to prove the case, because the government's own experts, the NTSB, as you just pointed out, Bianca, said it was not the fault of the people who owned the ship. Now, they did indict one Indian engineer who's in India. We do have an extradition treaty with India. I don't know if the government's going to go through the efforts to bring him back here.
All right. Well, great takes on both of these big stories. Thank you so much, Judge Knapp. David Gelman, I hope to see you back here soon.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Bianca.